we're going to move on and talk about a former coach of the Chicago Bulls and his team right now, Tom Thibodeau, and the Minnesota Timberwolves not really living up to expectations, Dave, especially our expectations.
Yeah, WTF. I mean, 8th seed. We gave you the benefit of the doubt. We were hoping for it before the season started.
I said, fuck it. Let's throw them in there at the 8th seed. And this is a team that hasn't performed well. A lot of young talent. There have even been rumors. I know we mentioned it a little bit last week, didn't really get into it, about the reports from Rick Bucher from Bleacher Report that there are workings of maybe a trade, Thibodeau going after a former player. No calls have been made yet, but the exact quote from Yahoo Sports is that, and I'm going to read it, people close to him, being Thibodeau, are convinced he will begin calling around soon if he hasn't already. So, end quote, we don't even know if he's made calls, but we don't think he has. What is your we'll start with the Timberwolves where they are right now and their disappointing season. What's the problem with the T-Wolves? If there is just one.
They don't play defense, and they don't play defense.
Got to drive that coach angry. I know how Tibby gets with when no one plays defense.
It's kind of sad because on paper they look like they should be dominating teams. They've got young. Here's the upside. You have young players who are really, really good. You have Cat, who is one of the most offensively gifted big men in the league. Unfortunately, he is statistically the worst defensive center in the league, which is hilarious because, you guys are all ripping on Ja, and, guess what? Get fucked. Then you've got Wiggins, who is one of the best scorers in the league, and you've got Zach LaVine, who has grown his game quite a bit, and I think beyond my expectations, he's becoming a really good player, but unfortunately, again, neither of them really plays great defense. So my big thing is, on the upside, you've got young players. And the downside, your A, defense is shit, and B, your bench depth needs improvement. So when I look at that team and what they need to do is they need to find some better depth on that bench. They need to maybe... See, here's the thing. Do you want to be patient or do you want to win now? My opinion is, frankly, that they should just eat the suffering, continue to cultivate that culture. Don't have any knee-jerk reaction to this bad start. Don't move any of their big three pieces, and just play it out. Let them grow naturally. Tom Thibodeau can beat defense into players. They may lose a knee in the process, but it'll happen. They'll learn how to play defense. I don't think you go knee jerk here, even though you're having one of just the most disappointing starts to a season.
Well, and for me, I think the reason why the knee jerk is happening is because people look at it and go, well, look at what Thibodeau did with the Bulls. He came in.
Do we crown their ass?
He came in first year with the Bulls. Boom, took them all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals before losing to the Heat. But when you look at what kind of a team he had at that point, he had Derrick Rose, who was already a third year pro, or in his third year at that point. You had Taj Gibson entering his second year. We had Carlos Boozer, a 9-year pro. Joe was in his fourth. We had, Luol Deng, entering his seventh season in the NBA. We didn't have really that many young players. Our rookie that year was Omer Asik. Like I said, Taj was entering his sophomore season. Him and James Johnson were the only sophomores on that team. And we had guys like Butler, who was not Jimmy, Raul Butler, and Razul Butler, and Kyle Korver, an 8- and 7-year pro, respectively, that year. We had vets on that team. So it wasn't like he was coming into a completely fresh young team that he is with the 2016 Timberwolves roster. And I think that's where it's I kind of feel like, okay, you don't want to make any knee-jerk reactions, but at the same time, I think to myself exactly what you said. Do you want to sit around and wait for these young players to develop into the vets that you're going to get? Because, looking right now, Chris Dunn's a rookie. Of course, he's not playing that much, but LaVine, third-year pro, Wiggins, third-year pro, and Cat is entering his second year. So really you can sit there and go, well, Ricky, they kind of have the same amount of veterans to young players that the Bulls had. Yeah, but they're veterans, like the guys like Brandon Rush, Jordan Hill, and John Lucas III. They don't have the same role on this team that the veterans had on that Bulls team.
Yeah, really, it's just Ricky Rubio. That's their guy. That's their old man who leads this team.
Like, I mean, Carlos Boozer was playing big minutes. I mean, Dang was playing big minutes. Butler and Korver and even Rane Brua were playing. Bruja were playing. And then we had Corey Brewer later. They were playing good, significant minutes for us. I'm kind of in the middle. Wait for these guys to develop a little more, but I'm also on the side of maybe it wouldn't be bad to make a move to bring in a veteran now to help this team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you do that, who are you going to give up? Gregor Dang or Zach or... I mean, look...
Could you give up Shabazz Muhammad for... I'm not saying like a top prize veteran. I'm just saying somebody who can contribute now so that it's not like, oh, we have an 8-year veteran, but he only plays like 5 minutes a game.
Yeah, you need something more than that. You really do. I think they need something much stronger than.
Can they do it without getting rid of Cat, Wiggins, or Levine?
I think Levine is the low man on that, and I think there's a lot of value out there for him. So, I say you pull the trigger on Levine.
Okay.
I think if the deal comes along, I'm not saying you force anything. I'm not saying you take this as a huge like, oh, we're gonna dump Levine for nothing. But I think that he is the one guy out who would be expendable out of their big three. I really think Wiggins has just unlimited potential right now, and Cat is something special. Levine, I'm sorry, he's not going to be a game breaker for you. Probably very few players can have that level of impact from where he's at, and I think that his value is probably the best on the open market. So, if a great deal comes along for a veteran presence, pull the trigger on him. Otherwise, ride it out. Let Tom coach this team. And in this offseason, look, you have cap money right now. You haven't spent. They're going to play this very smart, and his whole plan is to be patient. And this offseason, I guess, look for them to make some moves, bring in some players. My hope is that really you bolster up that bench, and you find some people who are like defensive like masterminds or stalwarts. I don't know whatever terminology you want here, but you need someone to stop them because they're putting up like 114 points a night. They're tied for 4th in the NBA with that. But the problem is if they let everybody go right past them, it doesn't matter how many points you score. If you're not, it's almost, I want to say the D'Antoni system, but like you're not them. You can't shoot the three ball. That's the other thing. If you look at this Timberwolves team, I think they're
which is essential now for an NBA team in this
they're
kind
a very
of era.
poor 3-point shooting team, and in their wins they're shooting like 42% from 3. Their losses they're only shooting like 32% from 3. So I'm not saying you live and die by the 3, but it's a huge deal in today's NBA.
That reminds me.
And they don't have anybody who can really just be their lockdown 3 guy.
That reminds me when you asked me what's a little problem about the Bulls, that we don't rely on the 3.
I mean, Rondo going 1 for 1 last night was pretty sweet.
Maybe getting a 3-point shooter would help, but that's a different discussion.
Dougie McBuckets.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
you just
comes back.
Yeah, concussion. It's scary.
But we're not talking about the Bulls. I'm trying to behave myself and stick to the T-Wolves. And the thing is that I don't think Thibodeau is going to, like you said, you can't go out there and be like, we got to get something going. It's going to play it smart. And it's not going to be they're not going to pull the trigger unless the right deal comes along. But the thing that's good is I think Thibodeau is going to target, obviously he's going to target a certain set of players. To me, 4 players come to mind.
All right.
Taj.
Yeah.
Luau.
Yeah.
Derek. And Jimmy.
Well, Jesus.
Wait.
All right.
The last 2, Jimmy, like I said, get the fuck out of here.
He's off the table right now, yeah.
Derrick Rose, especially, like, if Derrick Rose didn't make, I know that a player comment isn't everything, but if Derrick didn't make the comments he made this week about how he envisions a long-term deal in New York, I think you might be able to finagle something. But right now, I think the Knicks are on hey, he's playing well. Maybe we can bring him back. So right now, I would push Jimmy and Rose off the table. So really, it comes down to Taj and Luau. And I think that the Bulls would listen to a deal for Taj. But the thing that we talked about when we were prepping for the podcast is the deal that we would most likely have to see from the T-Wolves is we would need Levine, I think it was, what was it? Levine, Wiggins, and then maybe even a pick or Chris Dunn.
For what?
For Taj.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, they would never have to pay that much. That's an absurd amount.
Then what would you say would be a good price for Taj?
I don't think there's a matching price for Taj because we value him so high.
Not even like a Levine, Chris Dunn?
The problem is that we don't need Levine right now. We're already backed up at that position. So when I think about it, Taj is our consistency. He's the guy who every night is the 10-10 guy at minimum. That's what we expect, and he often goes off for more than
and
that.
I'm saying, like,
fit-wise for our team, getting someone like Zach would be great and all, but we don't need him to fill that role because then we have no power forward on our roster we're confident with.
Then let me flip this way. Like I said, this isn't something where the Bulls are like, yeah, sure, we're looking to trade him. But like I said, I think we would listen to the right offer with the T-Wolves.
Yeah, if they throw all that at us, I don't know.
But for you, just what's the right offer? Like, what is the minimal offer that you would say, sure, we'll give up Taj for that?
It's Dieng, and it might be, I might want Levine, but I don't think they'd give him up. And a pick would, okay, if you give us probably Dieng and a first, sure, but I don't think it's worth it. And I don't think that they would pull that, and I don't think we would really pull it. But that's probably the kind of value we're looking for Taj right now because of our expectations for the season and how well we're off to a start.
And the one thing I do want to mention, I'm a fucking idiot. You want to know why?
Why?
When we were talking pre-podcast, that deal that I said was not about Taj.
Didn't think
it's about Jimmy.
Oh, because I just thought in my head, I was like, that's an outrageous price for Taj.
I just thought in my head, I'm like, wait a second. We also talked about if there was a Jimmy trade, and that was it. Maybe a Levine, like, because there was the three of Cat, Wiggins, Levine, and either one of the other two that they wanted to give up, and then maybe a third piece.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We're not like I said, we're not trading Jimmy,
and they wouldn't give up those pieces, so no point.
So take Taj off the table now. That means it's down to Luol Deng. Do the T-Wolves and Thibodeau go
it's
after
not a great
Luol?
contract anyway, but
not a great contract. He's making about $18 million a season. 2, he's around for 4 more seasons. Like, to me, if you're the T-Wolves, let's try to get Taj, because then it's like, well, if it doesn't work, we can just get rid of him next season. And maybe, like, the Bulls feel it would have to be, like I said, the right deal, but maybe the Bulls can feel like, hey, we can get rid of him. Then this would be a point where it depends on where the Bulls are. If the Bulls are sitting third in the East, we're keeping Taj. But, like, if we fall and we're fringe in the playoffs, depending on what happens, hey, we can trade him, then try to get him back in the offseason, and then you're getting stuff from the Timberwolves and you're stealing Taj back at the end of the season. We got a long way to go before the trade deadline, before these talks rev up.
Look, Luol Deng hasn't looked good at all. I'll just be honest with you.
Well,
I don't know if there's value there right now.
I'm just saying because Thibodeau is going to go for a veteran, and B, a guy that he can trust.
I think he goes
a former player.
I think he goes. I think the right move is to go for a 3-and-D guy. I don't know. There's a handful of them in the league. They definitely have some value, but I mean, Korver's having a down climb. Korver's on the downcline. Maybe they get Korver. I don't know.
Korver can't play defense though.
He tries.
He tried. Well, trying being curl up into
you're
a ball.
Right. I said 3-and-D. Yeah. And the D is lacking.
Really, a 3-point shooter. Then Dave is trying to go.
No, they do need a true 3-and-D player. They need defense. That's my preach, and that's where I'll stop it at. Just they need to go out and get themselves a 3-and-D player.
I'm leaning towards overall the don't panic.
Right.
Don't hit the panic button. You don't even have to make a deal right now.
Yep.
It's one of those things where if you're the T-Wolves, you can window shop for sure. Nobody's telling you can't. You can talk to other teams, but don't feel like you have to make a deal just because something's not working. Like you said, Dave, this team has cap room that they can use next offseason, and then the draft, you'll get young players. Hey, maybe if you don't want to add more young players, you can package draft picks together to go out and get a quality vet that you want, or you can get a guy who's a restricted free agent, and then you're giving away those draft picks that way to sign a restricted free agent. But this T-Wolves team, like the disappointments that they've had, you guys have a core, and I wouldn't want to see this team blow it up just because it's like, oh shit, we thought we were going to be better than we were because we had Tom Thibodeau as our head coach.
So true.
Is there any last points that you think we didn't hit when it came to the T-Wolves?
No. I think the key is just don't panic. Just let it play out.
Just let that panic button float to the side.
Let it play out. Be patient. Understand that, you know what, maybe you were a little high on this year. Maybe you're not world beaters.
I think we all were, especially when Thibodeau signed with the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
It was like the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Take it down a notch, T-Wolves. Take it down.
And then I remember everyone was, because I remember Waddle and Sylvie had the play-by-play guy for, I think he's the Minnesota Vikings, and he's like, Jimmy Butler's going to be a T-Wolf now. We're going to trade for Jimmy. Maybe the expectations we had for this team were a little bit too high. Don't hit that panic button. But before we wrap up this podcast, this was a good one. It's a good one, my friend.
It's a long one.
Right now we're sitting over an hour. I don't know if we cut the front and stuff, if it's going to be over an hour in the final cut. But
MVP fans, you're in for a fun one. Yeah,
I mean, hey, you guys love your basketball. So, I mean, we're going to give you everything that we've got here at MVP for basketball. But thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, hit that follow button and make sure to kind of peruse right over to the YouTube page and mostvaluablepodcast.com. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and bookmark mostvaluablepodcast.com. I want to thank you guys for listening. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at mostvaluablepod for more great podcasts.